Hey everybody, it's Wes here from Fundamental Games, the designer and basically going to be the self-publisher of Legends of Novus. And it's been a really exciting first day of the campaign, actually first day and a half now. We're already at 2 o'clock Mountain Time, so it's been on for quite some time today. And like any campaign, day 2 is always a bit of a trough compared to day 1. But it's absolutely awesome that we hit that 70% already today. Really pumped about that. Over $10,000 US raised, and backer count right now 238 backers. So for all 238 of you, for those of you that watch this update, I really want to thank you for joining the world of Novus and seeing how much we can continue to grow this by spreading the word and sharing the post and sharing the links. I'm sure we can take it much farther. To kind of recap compared to the last campaign, because this is a relaunch, the end of the day on the first campaign was just about 5,000 US raised. I think it's actually even a bit less than that, and half the number of backers. So really exploded compared to last time, and a special appreciation to those of you who joined the first campaign and came back for this one, trusting that we did some changes to what we had to offer. So a couple things I wanted to share with you about what are we going to do to keep this campaign going, because day 1 is always fun, but if you can't fund on day 1, what are we going to do to get there? So I wanted to share with you some of the plans that I have in place, working with some great people that are out there in the hobby game world, whether they be reviewers or other designers or things like that. So first off, tonight there's the Tabletop backer party. So right now it's 2 o'clock Mountain Time. By the time this airs, it'll probably be 3 o'clock. So I would say about 3 hours from the time that this video gets released, we'll be holding that Tabletop backer party. And that's just a chance for me to chat with a few people from the kind of the Kickstarter world, people that are involved in these kind of projects all the time and help support them. And a chance for me to talk with them. They'll ask some questions about the game, about the art, about the mechanics, and about what we're doing to keep this going. So that'll be on tonight, and I'm sure you can go back and watch it later if you don't get a chance to watch it live. I think the only clause is you have to be part of the Backer Party Facebook group, which has about 9,000 members right now. So pretty big audience depending on who actually clicks in and watches or who watches it after. Secondly, I had a great chance to play the game with a gentleman by the name of Dave. He runs a YouTube channel called The Game Cave. And so we played an online digital version of it through Tabletop Simulator, which is actually available for you to try if you like. But we played basically 90% of a game before time ran out and I had to run. And it was really great to walk through the setup, through the mechanics, through the art, through the gameplay with them. And we just went through many rounds. And had a great time chatting about the game as we played it. He got to be Vin, the Shadow of Drakkar, and he was running across the world. He stole from the Lich's Keep. He managed to take down Sistos, the Spider Scorpion. Meanwhile, I was kind of on the northern hemisphere of Novus. Took out a couple of creatures on my way. Got defeated by a Reptosaur, but made a comeback when I went to my home city of Exire and then defeated Asmakai in quite the battle there. So we had some fun with that, and as soon as that airs, I'll make sure I post a link right into the campaign as well as into the comments, so you can get a chance to watch what it's like to play a game of Novus. You may have seen some of the other videos, but this one was quite fun to do as well. Third, we're going to have a Dice Tower preview. So if you've ever watched the Board Game Corner by Mark Streed, he does a fantastic job of laying out what he thinks of the components and how the gameplay works, and just an overall sense of the game. And not only does he just review the components, I didn't know this, but he plays the game quite a few times. So I think he's played it at least 3 times now, as well as members of his family and friends, and really enthusiastic about it so far. So once he gets that preview video posted, I'm really excited to share that with you. And the more of us that can share that with people that we know or people that are in our spheres of influence, the more people that see that video, I think his word goes a long way. He's a professional in the industry and gets thousands of views on his pod or on his YouTube channel. So that's coming soon. We also have an interview with Gabe Barrett from the Board Game Design Lab. I'm not sure exactly what day he's going to post it. He's a very busy guy with a very busy channel. But I did take some time, and he took some time with me earlier this week, or I think it was late last week, to talk about fantasy settings and how do you build a fantasy world and a fantasy theme, and how does that compare to Novus and D&D and Gloomhaven. So when he gets a chance to put that to the public, I'll make sure I share that as well. It was a great chance to talk about the actual design aspect of the game. Next one is about funding the dream. So if you remember back from the first launch of Legends of Novus, I went through 2 podcasts. Well, one was with me and one was kind of about the game with another super backer. But that Funding the Dream podcast talked about how hard it can be to break into the industry, despite how much you try to influence and talk to people on social media and through giveaways and through board game design chats. So a chance to get back with Richard now that we're on the relaunch and talk about what we did differently, what we're going to continue to do, and what made the difference between a 40% funding and a 70% funding after a day. So that'll be fun. Richard's an excellent guy to talk to. He has some great podcasts. If you're ever into learning about Kickstarters, go back and watch his whole feed. It's pretty awesome. Next part is some new art. We still have a few more pieces of art coming from Andrea just to prepare for the official funding of Legends of Novus. So he's got a couple pieces he's been working on. One of the pieces is a stretch goal piece of art. Actually, we're doing that art early in anticipation of being able to get that creature out to you. And that is the creature of Jotun. He's a half-orc barbarian, and it's a different class, kind of tethered to fighter, but a special brand of that can only advance to what we call a zealot, which is kind of a super barbarian. So Jotun the barbarian is getting, sounds like Conan maybe in a way, is getting crafted as we speak, amongst a couple other things like the spiritual warhammer that the priestess and the fighter can wield, or there's the savage bear, which makes a presence in many of the games that we play. So that new art, as soon as that gets released, I'll make sure I feed it to you guys first, that you get to see it live on the Kickstarter first, maybe through an update post, or on the Legends of Novus Facebook group is another place that I like to share firsts before it goes live to the public. So new art is coming, and that can only help to emphasize this beautiful art that is part of the game. I mean, I can't speak highly enough about the artists that are doing the work for Legends of Novus and how much it really envelops and shows what this game has to offer. And speaking of art, I made these 4 tiles the last time I did a prototype for Legends of Novus. These were printed through Print and Play Ad Magic, because when you print on there, they actually give you extra. You can only print on a certain template. So if I wanted 8 cards, but it's on a sheet that has 10 cards, I had to print extras. So I happened to print these extras, and hopefully I'm not zooming too close, but they're just a thick cardboard tile, 4 by 4.5 by 4.5. We've got an Osira, we have a Cane, we have a Orc Warrior, and then we have the Greedy Goblin. So on the back of these is a nice miniaturized version of the map of Novus. So I'm not sure what you would do with this if you won one of these, but I do want to come up with a way to give this away. Now, it won't be directly on the Kickstarter page, because I think it's against their regulations to actually run contests. But if you're part of the Legends of Novus Facebook group, I'm going to come up with some kind of incentive to win one of these, and I'll just mail it right out to you, along with maybe something else that has to do with the game, kind of a preview of what's to come, and you can see this art firsthand printed in all its glorious color. So if you want a chance for that, stay tuned, join the Facebook group if you're not already part of it, and we'll discuss a way to share those with 4 lucky individuals. And then lastly, I wanted to share, you may occasionally see that if you're a follower of me on Kickstarter, you'll see that I back quite a few projects. Sometimes it's a buck or two, sometimes it's full-fledged for the game. But often, the things that I'm backing are part of games that I'm working on with other designers to support them in what they're doing. So for example, there's an awesome, funny, humorous card game called Cover Your Kingdoms that's out right now by Grandpa Beck Games, and designed by a guy named Jeff Beck. And actually had a chance to play his game with him on Tabletop Simulator last night, and it was fun to see his thought process on how he designed the cards and how his company runs, and that kind of gives me some insight on where I can go from the place that I'm at now. So worked with him to help create a video to showcase how his game looks on Tabletop Simulator and how the game plays. So that was fun. I put together a Tabletop Simulator version of Reforge. That's also live on Kickstarter right now. And Reforge is just a very simple, I can't remember how many cards are in the deck, even though I put it together, but what you're doing is you're building a comical sword. And you start with a wooden blade and a wooden handle, and you start to acquire pieces of that sword to make it more and more powerful as you duel against an opponent who's doing the same thing, or multiple opponents, up to 4 players. And this cool sword comes together, and it's got all kinds of humorous pieces to it. You can actually get a dog as a blade, or a giant slab of concrete as a blade. Looks really cool when it's on the digital tabletop anyway, so I imagine when it comes to life in the real card game, it's going to look pretty cool too. But I was able to use some of my tabletop simulator experience to kind of put together the build for him, show him how you can do a background, show him how you can do a tabletop, and use the different angles and the zoom functions. And I'm going to put together an actual live playthrough video for him. And I've done similar things for other games. There's a game called Furball, if you check out. It's not live on Kickstarter, I think it's coming out in July. But another humorous, funny game that's about cats in a fantasy setting. And there's so much theme to that, about distracting you with a ball of yarn, or about having to fight a giant hairy furball for a victory, or a dog dragon. So if you later on next month, if you see that, that Kickstarter is one that I'm excited about, just to help him out. And same thing, built it on Tabletop Simulator, played it through, showed him some images, and posted it on YouTube, so you can actually see what his game looks like now, a month before his Kickstarter is even going to launch. But that's just something, even though I want Novus to succeed so much, I still want to be able to be involved with these other game designers, because they really do have a chain of influence. If you can influence a designer who already has their own group of people that are interested in their games, sometimes what they back will be shared, and sometimes they'll share it on their own posts. So if you see me following other groups, or if you see me posting about other games, there is a purpose behind it, but it's also something I like to do as in my personal time as well. So that's a lot to share with you. I apologize if I took too much of your time. If you watch through this whole video, you'll just know that I'm passionate about Legends of Novus. I'm passionate about the art. I'm really excited for the interviews that are coming up and that have already happened but haven't yet been made public. And I think all of these things are going to merge together to help us get over the 100% threshold, but also get beyond that. And one of the things that you can do beyond just sharing the link to the Kickstarter is, as these different videos and posts and such get announced, just sharing the links to those, not necessarily the Kickstarter, because some of the groups that you might be part of might even ban you from doing that. But if you can share the link to the Dice Tower preview, or if you can share the link to the Game Cave playthrough, or whatever it is, the Funding the Dream podcast, linking to all those things helps you share our campaign without overly advertising the fact that it's a Kickstarter, because people will find that out after. If they really like what they've heard and what they've seen, they'll make their way to the Kickstarter and make a decision from there. But you don't have to share the Kickstarter link directly to be able to get people to learn about Legends of Novus. And that's what I'll be doing again. Still have a few more days off this week, then a little vacation on the weekend, and then back to work on Monday or Tuesday. But trust me, throughout this whole thing, throughout the next 2 weeks, because we're on until July 12th, trust me that all the spare energy I have continues to get funneled into Legends of Novus. And for those of you that are doing the same, really appreciate it, and can't wait to see how far we can get this thing. Because this relaunch, I can tell already it's going to fund, and that's step one. But getting your stretch goals and getting the component costs down to make the game better, that's really the key to successful kickstarting, is getting it beyond funded to that 150, 200% level, and really make this game as good as we can without you paying any more than you already have. Okay, signing off. I look forward to talking to you in the comments, in the chats, in the Facebook, wherever else we end up talking. And again, a big thank you